Hi, good evening. My name is Brian Wilson, and I'd like to welcome you to the Adding Inventory Correctly webinar for Consign Pro customers tonight. Welcome to everybody who's attending live, and welcome to those watching this for the first time on YouTube. My goal today is to tell you about how to add inventory correctly to the Consign Pro system so that several things happen. One, you're able to sell the item, pay the consignor correctly, and your totals on your end-of-day reports, including the income statement, show up correctly. So to start this, I'm going to start where all add inventory transactions begin. That's the Add Inventory screen by clicking the Add Inventory button on the main menu. You'll notice up at the top, we've got several inventory choices. We've got consigned, store-owned, vendor item, and auction. The auction option is actually a carryover from the eBay days. Back in the beginning, people used to like to capture eBay ID numbers for the auction using that auction type. Not too many people use that auction type. Instead, we're going to cover buy outright, which you don't see at the top, but it is an inventory choice, and we're going to cover that a little bit later. In any case, I think the first thing we want to do today is to cover a definition of each one of these inventory types. A consigned item is a one-of-a-kind item you receive from a consignor. It's put into the system as consigned. The status on that is available, lower left corner. When a consigned item gets sold, the consignor gets paid the split percentage times the selling price of the item. In many cases, that's 50-50, some cases 60-40. You can make it any split you'd like. And the split is in the top right corner of the screen. The second type of inventory is store-owned. That's something your store owns outright that they've purchased. It's a one-of-a-kind type item where you'd like to record not only the selling price of the item, but also the store cost. Vendor items are a little bit unique. They're handled a little bit differently in the system. You specify a count when you put in vendor items, and the count is for how many of those items that you have and how many you'd like to be able to sell. That is a box of, let's say, polo dress shirts. All are the same. You've got 10 of them in the box. You're going to sell each one individually. You want to assign a single item number to the group and sell that single item or that SKU many times. What some store owners do for vendor items is they'll print out a single barcode for that item and put it by the quote-unquote register and scan that barcode anytime you sell one of those shirts. The fourth type of inventory item, which you don't see on the screen right now, is called buy outright. We're going to turn on buy outright a little bit later for stores that do buy outright, and we're going to show how you can buy things from customers, how you can put money in their accounts, how you can commit some of that as credit. All that good stuff is going to be covered. So the reason that I wanted to put this webinar together from the beginning was that there's a lot of confusion over when to use each inventory type for a particular item. And more importantly, how does the cost of goods sold, as you sell these items, how does the cost of goods sold get accurately reflected on things like the income statement? So we're going to walk through an example of each type of inventory now. We're going to start with a consigned item belonging to a consignor. Top screen, we're going to start typing in Jacqueline Adams. Her last name was an A. I typed in an A. I clicked on her in the list, and her consignor number popped in. We're going to add a women's clothing, dress shirt. I'm just picking things. These lists on this screen don't matter too much what I put in them for the purposes of this demonstration. Those drop-down lists are all maintained by you. The entries in those are under Maintain Store, Maintain Lists, and on that screen you control what's in the type, description, color, and size list. You can also rename those lists. If you don't like my headings, you can put different headings on them. You can also make the color and size lists optional or not even appear on the screen. In the case of some of our furniture store customers, they actually remove color and size from the screen completely. This is we're going to say a $10 item. We've got a 50% split. So what this consigned item is, item number 34311, when I sell that item, I will record $10 in revenue. $5 will go into Jacqueline Adams' consignor account, and $5 will be recorded as my cost of goods sold. This is a very vanilla type transaction. Most of you already know how to do these. You do these every single day. We could change the split percentage to anything we'd like to reflect how much you want the consignor to receive as a percentage of the final selling price of the item. Got a little check box down here next to lowest price, and when I put a check in that box, it changed to wholesale $sign. Well, what does that mean? If I were to put $3 into this box, the split percentage at the top automatically changes to 0. And what this means is that Jacqueline will receive $3 for the item, no more, no less, regardless of the price that it sells at. So if it sells at $15, Jacqueline gets $3. If it sells at $10, Jacqueline gets $3. If it sells at $2, Jacqueline still gets $3. In some instances where a consignor is requiring a certain dollar amount, no more, no less, that checkbox may make sense for you. Whatever is in that box with it checked is what gets recorded as the cost of goods sold when the item sells. It takes the split right out of the equation completely. Okay? I'm going to click Add Another. Oh, I should note at the bottom of the screen we've got a checkbox here that says Never Reduce. If I didn't want this price of $10 to reduce based on the amount of time that's passed or based on the tag color that's on an item, we can check the Never Reduce box and it will not be reduced automatically. Tag colors, by the way, are one of the two methods to reduce prices of inventory automatically. You set up the tag colors you have in the system under Maintain Store, Maintain Lists, and then as you add inventory, you can assign a tag color, and then at some point you can say today all pink tags are 15% off or all red tags are 20% off. You can have up to 8 tag colors on sale at any one time, but you can use an unlimited number of tag colors in the system. Okay? Just depends on what tag colors are in your printer and how you want to communicate that to your customers as they're shopping in your store. We also do time period markdowns, which are completely separate from tag color. Time period markdowns all go off this received date over here. And then if we go into Maintain Store, Store Terms, up here at the top right, you'll see time period markdowns. You can say 50% after 30 days, 65% after 60 days, etc. 3 time period markdowns can be applied to your inventory. This is where you determine whether your store items and vendor items also mark down or if it's just consigned inventory. And on this screen, we've also got a big button that says Tag Color Markdowns, which we just talked about. In this, we've got orange tags being marked down at 10%. We'll say pink tags are 20%. Update, back to store info, menu. Let's jump back into Add Inventory, and let's add a store-owned item. Store-owned inventory, first a quick definition. It's items that you bought for the store where you've got a selling price and what you've paid for it. Let's add one to the system. In this case, I'm selling the necklace for $30. I paid $10 for it. That goes into my store cost. When this item sells, $30 is recorded as your revenue, unless it's marked down or you reduce it. $10 is not going into any store account because the store account does not accumulate money, but $10 is being recorded as the cost of goods sold. Okay, so to record the cost of goods sold on store-owned inventory, put something into the store cost field. If you've got a whole bunch of inventory out there on the database where a store cost is 0, you can always go back in through Find Inventory and apply those store costs. That way your cost of goods sold on the income statement is correctly reflected as you sell store-owned inventory. Notice when I selected the store-owned as an inventory type, my split percentage automatically went to 0%. Okay. My suggestion would be to have a store account set up in your system. That's as easy to do as going into Add Consignor, creating an account, putting in an address, putting in the word store into the comments field. When you put the word store into the comments field, the system knows something special is happening, saying, would you like to make this account the store account? We're going to click on yes. The split percentage automatically changes to 0% for store-owned inventory. I had a store account already set up in my system, so that's an extra message that I got saying, would you like to make this the new store account? I said yes. So now account 12933 is my store account. When I click on store owned, it automatically populates my consignor field with 12933. It automatically changes to split to 0, and it automatically changes the status to store. The lowest price box goes to store cost, where I can put in what I paid for this one-of-a-kind item that I bought elsewhere and I'm selling in my store. The third type of inventory you can add to the system is a vendor item. Vendor items are also owned by the store, but vendor items have a quantity greater than one. They're not one of a kind. That's really the only difference between store-owned inventory and vendor inventory. One is one of a kind, and vendor items, you have multiple. Let's say that you've got a bunch of greeting cards, and all greeting cards are $1. You might want to print a single barcode for greeting cards, and you might be able to you might want to sell that barcode over and over and over again up to the count field. You'll notice on the screen we've got this new count field that just appeared. I've got 100 of those. Other, greeting card, none, $1. Okay. In this case, we've got 100 greeting cards that are going to be sold under SKU number 34313, and you can sell that SKU number up to 100 times. In this case, we have no cost associated with this because we've got a 0% split, and there's nothing in this wholesale $ box. When I put a check in here, I can say these greeting cards cost me 25 cents each, and it will record 25 cents for each greeting card that I sell as a cost of goods sold, $1 for revenue. Okay, so just to be clear, vendor items can be sold multiple times up to the value that's in the count field, and price is the revenue that's recorded. And when you put a check in the box next to lowest price, it changes to wholesale $, and that's where you can put in your cost for recording the cost of those vendor items. If you'd rather record the cost as a percentage, you can also do that. I can say 25% of the selling price I'd like to be attributed to my cost of goods sold. I think the cleanest way to do it is with this wholesale $, because you know what you paid for each greeting card or for each shirt or for each battery or each candy bar, whatever you have a lot of. Okay, 34313 is that item number. Let's go to add another. This is a message that we kind of clicked OK past a second ago, but I want to give you a little bit more clarity on what it is. For vendor items, which is what the system thinks I'm wanting to add, if your vendor item has a manufacturer's barcode already printed on it or already on a hang tag, you can use that manufacturer's barcode with ConsignPro. We have a checkbox on one of our screens that says prompt for UPC barcode on vendor items. And I obviously have that turned on in my settings. When that's turned on, you'll get this pop-up anytime you add a vendor item to the system. Would you like to enter or scan the product barcode? I'm going to say yes. If these batteries or candy bar had a barcode on it, I could scan the barcode in, and I can assign that to the item. Let's make it a little bit cleaner. There we go. Okay. So now this item that I'm adding, we'll say it's a candy bar. I've got 10 of these, and they're, how much are candy bars? $1.50. And we'll say the wholesale price on these, we'll say I paid 50 cents. Okay. Don't really know if those numbers are realistic, but in some cases they might be. In any case, I can now sell this candy bar using either a barcode printed from ConsignPro with barcode number 34314 on it. That's the item number. Or down here at the bottom, we've got a SKU number or UPC code that will work equally well on our Make Sale screen. Okay? So let's go and let's sell some of these items and see what happens. 3-4, let's take a look at that first item. And I think that was 3-4. 34311. This is a consigned item belonging to Jacqueline Adams. Do we want to change this? No, we'll leave the tag color markdown information in effect for today. Okay. There's my dress shirt. It had a pink tag on it. It was $10, but the pink tags are 20% off today. So my price went from $10 to $8, and it is appearing in blue on my screen because the system wants you to know that item was reduced based on tag color markdowns. I'm going to click Finish Sale. Brings up the sale. You all know how this works. Complete sale. I now can go into Jacqueline Adams' account. Account activity. And I can see that she was paid $3 for this item. If I wanted to see why it was $3, I can click on it. I notice that I've got a wholesale price of $3 that she got paid because we put a check in that box and we said, let's pay her $3 regardless of how much it sells for. Okay? That's why she got $3. So next we've got inventory item number, I believe it's 34312. That's a vendor item, a $30 necklace. I forgot. Let's see how we set that up. We set that up as a $30 item with a $10 store cost. And that's a store-owned item. So let's go and sell that. $30, $32.10 with tax. Let's go back into my store account. Go into account activity. Wrong store account. Let's try the other one. Item sold, 34312. I didn't put any money in. Okay? I didn't put any money in because my split percentage was 0. We don't record any money on this account. So the next logical question is, since we don't record money on the account for store-owned inventory, how does that get recorded? Well, it does get recorded, and you can show it on a report. I'm going to jump back to the menu. I'm going to go into reports. I'm going to run an income statement for today and print that to the screen. I'm going to put in my store account number, and I'm going to click OK. And here's the sale of that store-owned item. Comes up on my cost of goods sold report. I sold it for $30. It had a $10 cost in the store cost field, meaning I made $20 on that store-owned item that got sold. Okay? So putting that store-owned inventory into the system is very easy. I just need to record the store cost and the price correctly. Okay. And the last one is 34313. It's a vendor item. I can sell that as many times as I'd like. It's going to have 25-cent wholesale price. That'll be recorded as the store cost. 34313. Don't want to forget that. Watch this. Look at it. I can sell multiple greeting cards on the same sale. I can also, for vendor items, put in the letter Q. What does Q stand for? Down at the bottom of the screen, we have Q equals quantity. You'll see it right at the bottom. When I put in Q and press tab, it says, please enter or scan the barcode for the vendor item you're selling, 34314. Click OK. How many of these greeting cards do you want to sell? I want to sell 3 more. Okay. And actually, I'm sorry, that was a candy bar. We did greeting cards under 34313. We did candy bars under 34314. So I just sold 3 more or 4 more candy bars. It calculated my price. I think it was, I forget what the price of them was, but it came out to $4.50 for that number of candy bars we were selling. Okay. I wanted to, I could sell this, complete the sale. I can go into Find Inventory 34313. I sold 3 greeting cards. My count is now 97. And I sold 3 candy bars at $1.50, which got us to $4.50. I now have 7 candy bars left in my count field. Okay. So vendor items, again, very helpful, useful tool in the system. Creates a single barcode you can sell over and over and over. And on the report screen, we've got an income statement. I'm going to run the income statement for today, print it to the screen, and on this report, you'll see we've collected some sales, and that cost of goods sold number, I keep talking about that. That cost of goods sold number is how we represented on that add inventory screen what we either paid for the item as a flat dollar amount or wholesale price, or what we intended and paid the consignor for as the item got sold in the case of a consigned item. All of those numbers get lumped into this cost of goods sold on your income statement, which is why it's important to get your inventory into the system correctly so that cost of goods sold number comes out well, and you've got a very accurate picture then of your income, which is certainly revenues minus expenses. One of those expenses is your cost of selling inventory. Okay, so that is how we add those three types of inventory: consigned, store owned, and vendor. If you'd like to set up a vendor account for each vendor you use, you can do that. I think that's a great idea because then you can track sales by vendor account. You're certainly going to set up a store inventory account for store-owned items, and then each one of your consignors, of course, will have their own consignor accounts that generate money on them as you sell their items. Okay, so that's really how we add inventory. We can specify the cost of goods sold as either a percentage of the selling price, or we can lock it down using this checkbox with wholesale $sign that pops up, and we can put in the flat dollar amount that we paid for the item, and that will get recorded as cost of goods sold. Okay, so that's how we add inventory correctly to Consign Pro. The inventory type we didn't touch on yet is a special type called Buy Outright. We're going to talk about that next. Buy Outright defined, let's set it up first. Maintain store, customize CP. Oh, by the way, to change any of the drop-down lists in Consign Pro's inventory screen, we've got our Maintain Lists button here. And here we've got type, description, size, and color. Those are your 4 descriptive lists. You can change the contents of those lists by removing our entries and putting your own in. You can also rename the list. So if you don't want a typed list, you could rename it to brand. Now when you go to the Add Inventory screen, you'll see brand rather than type. The next logical thing to do would be to remove all the entries from this brand list and start typing in maybe brands. Levi's, Donna Karen, running out of brands here. Let's see, Polo, let's see, Calvin Klein. And now we've got brands. When we go to the Add Inventory screen, we've got a brands list instead of type, description, color, and size. We've got brands here. Okay. So you should, of course, customize the software under Maintain Store, Maintain List to meet your specific needs, what it is you're selling in your store. The thing I want to do next is turn on Buy Outright, and I want to see how we handle Buy Outright in the system. If you do that, you're going to love this next portion. Maintain Store, Customize CP, Store Settings, Inventory. That's what we're talking about today. I don't do Buy Outright. Let's say Buy Outright is all that I do. I pay as a percentage of the selling price. I pay 50% cash. I pay 60% credit. So that would be like if I'm taking in, let's say, an item I think I can sell for $10. Maybe I want to spend $5 to buy the item, or $6 if the customer has agreed to leave that in their account and use it as store credit. Okay, and we're going to see how those percentages play out on the Add Inventory screen in just a second. Add Inventory, we now have Buy Outright, and it is selected because I told the system Buy Outright is all that I do. Let's say we're buying a pair of jeans. I can put in a price of $20. When I do that, it automatically calculates my Buy Outright price for a cash buy as 50% of $20 or $10. If I were to click on credit, it changes it to 60% or $12 that you'd want to pay for those jeans. You could put whatever percentages in you want. I picked 50 and 60 just for the heck of it. You could put in 20 and 30, 30 and 40, whatever you'd like. Most store owners do pay a little bit more if the consignor agrees to use the money in their store. Okay? When I do that and I click add another, Sandy Adams account is automatically going to get $12 put into it. Okay. And it's going to allow me to add another piece of buy outright inventory for Sandy. Okay. Let's jump back to the menu. 34315 is the item we just added. Let's go into her account, Sandy Adams. She now has $12 in her account. If I go into account activity, I see $12. That automatically got recorded as cost of goods sold. Actually, yeah, that got recorded as cost of goods sold, even though it didn't sell, because that money went out the door already. Okay. I'm going to go to click close here. I notice she has $12 in her account. I can either pay this balance out, or I can lock this money into her account by clicking on pending credit. If I pay out balance, it would be the payout balance button, and I could pay her the amount that I want to for those clothes. Most store owners will print a received report after they're doing a buy, and that received report will show the customer all of the things they've just processed with a total at the bottom. They will then let the customer decide whether or not they want to accept the offer or not accept the offer. If they were to not accept the offer, you could go into view items, and you could go into list view. Actually, I think if we go to, list view, and we can remove items from this list. List view. And we can click on remove in this column here. You would see a long list of items you did the buy for. All of those items on the right, the status would say available. And you could remove the items the customer did not want to sell you. Or if they do want to sell you them all, you can just leave that list alone, and you can either pay out the balance using the payout balance button, or you can click the pending credit button and commit this amount as customer credit. Yes. Now that amount can't be paid out. What would happen at that point is they would get on your star receipt printer a nice receipt that the customer would get, showing that they've got a $12 credit with your store. That money will stay in the account until they use that account credit on their Make Sale screen when you make a purchase. That's done through Make Sale, Finish Sale, Use Account Credit. Sandy Adams, $12. Okay, this is a $0 sale. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but this amount right here would usually be $12 as well. Cancel this sale. Okay. So buy outright process works pretty simple. Go into add inventory, add the items you're buying. It will automatically deposit money into the customer's account for you. After that, present the received report to the customer. After you've done all that, go into look up the customer, click on received report, print that received report. It'll be, I think, a nice buy outright report is what it will really be. You'll hand that to your customer. If they want to accept it as is, you can either pay out balance or accept it as credit. And in doing so, they can't use the money for a payout. They can only use it in your store. So that kind of is how buy outright works. When those items get sold, we do not put any additional money into this consignor's account or customer's account because we already put the money in there during the buy. Okay. We've got a number of reports on our reports screen that can be used to look at your inventory. Our most powerful report, of course, is the inventory lookup report. The inventory lookup report can be used to kind of slice and dice your inventory any way you'd like. We talked a lot about statuses. Consigned items are available status. Store-owned items are in a store status until they sell. And vendor items always stay in a vendor status because you've always got some on hand. Let's say you had a count on vendor items and that count went down to 0. If that's the case, you can't sell any more until you change that count to some number other than 0. Okay, and that can be done just by clicking on the count field and adding to it how many additional items you have. Once the count hits 0 again, it's not locked, but you can go in and change this, but you can't sell anymore until that count has changed. Okay. Let's see what else can we do with this inventory lookup report. This can be used to do inventory valuation. In other words, what's the total value of my inventory out on the sales floor? We get that question every now and then. In that case, you change the status to in the store. You'd hit continue, and you'd hit print to screen. I'm going to maximize this, and I'm going to jump it to the last page. I'm not going to maximize it because I can't see the bottom of it. Go to the last page. Now I'm going to maximize it. I've got total of all items shown, and I've got a total cost of all items shown. This is items out on your sales floor, what you expect to sell them for, and what you've paid for them. Okay? This should correctly account for consigned, store-owned, and those special vendor items based on how many you have for each vendor item. Let's see what else we can look at. Income statement, of course, is going to show you, we looked at that a second ago. It's going to show you for any time period you'd like, how much did I ring up in sales? That is, what were those prices of items? And what were the cost of goods sold for that inventory as well? The items get marked down in your system, either based on time or tag color. We talked about that. It's under Maintain Store, Store Terms. You've got time period markdowns here at the top. You've got tag color markdowns here next. We've got orange and pink on sale today. Either do time period or tag color. Please don't try to do both. You'll confuse your customers, you'll confuse yourself, and nothing will ring up correctly on the Make Sale screen. So pick a strategy and go with one or the other. You decide whether you want store-owned inventory and vendor items to be marked down as well as your consigned items. Consigned items is the default. That always applies. Store and vendor items, some store owners like to mark down both, some just like to mark down one or the other. Okay? That's based on time. Okay. So that, I think, wraps up. We didn't talk about buyer's fees. I guess we could touch on that since this has to do with inventory. Quick definition of buyer's fees. Buyer's fees are set up under Maintain Store, Store Terms. I've got to turn off my, bear with me one second here. I'm going to say I do mostly buy outright. Buyer's fees don't apply when you're talking about buy outright. So the system hid them from me. Let's see if it's going to unhide them from me. Yep. So now on the bottom of this screen, lower left side, we've got buyer's fees. Buyer's fees are the definition is a dollar or percentage that's added to each item tag as the tag gets printed, and that dollar amount is not shared with it's collected from the customer, but it's not shared with the consignor. So a very simple example would be a $10 item with a $1 buyer's fee. The price tag would print for $11. As that item sold, the customer would give you $11, and then you would only split $10 of that with your consignor. So it is a price that a lot of store owners use for handling an item, touching an item, cleaning an item, getting an item ready for sale. Anything you do to present that item out on your sales floor for sale is what store owners think of as what we'll call a buyer's fee. It is additional money that you can collect. We have some store owners making literally thousands of dollars a year using these buyer's fees. I would suggest if you're going to turn them on, we do not show the consignor those numbers anywhere, whether they're using myresaleweb.com or whether you're emailing lists to your consignors or printing lists for your consignors. They do not see that $11 price. They just see a $10 price. And so one of the things you want to do in your contract is have a wording when you're using buyer's fees that says our store reserves the right to add a nominal handling charge to each item that is not shared with you, the consignor. That kind of gets you off the hook in case somebody walks in, they find that pair of jeans out on the rack for $11. On your report that you handed them, it said $10, and they ask, what's the $1 difference here for? You can point to that line in your contract and say, that's our handling fee, okay? Let's turn them on. We can do, by the way, simple buyer's fees, $1 for all items sold over $1. You can make this, this is just a floor, this for items sold over. If you've got a 50-cent item, you certainly don't want to put a $1 buyer's fee on it. So we're going to say if it's sold for more than $5, I want to put a $1 buyer's fee on it, okay? We can also, if we don't want to do simple buyer's fees, which was what we just turned on, we can say advanced buyer's fees. And we can say from a price of $1 through $5, do a 50-cent buyer's fees, $5 through $25, do a $1 buyer's fees, 25 through 50, do a $2 buyer's fee. You see where this is going, $3 buyer's fees. And if I click update here, I now go back to the inventory screen and I add a consigned item. Let's call it a nice ring. Let's say green, none. Price, we're going to say, let's say, I don't know, what's a ring sell for? Let's say $29. Okay. Notice I've got a $2 buyer's fee. It automatically popped into the screen right there. Okay. I'm going to go back to the menu, 34316. My $29 ring just rang up at $31. That's collecting the buyer's fee from the customer. And I'm going to complete the sale. 34316, owned by Arlene Adams. Let's see how much she got paid. Keep in mind it was really a $29 ring with a $2 buyer's fee. $11.60. How come? If I double click on this $11.60, $31 sales price minus the $2 that goes into your pocket as a buyer's fee gives you a new price of $29. 60% goes to the store, which leaves poor Arlene with $11.60 on that sale. Okay, so buyer's fees are a way for your store to make more money by collecting a little bit more from the customer and not sharing that little bit more with the consignor. We've had some store owners, as I mentioned, make literally thousands and thousands of extra dollars a year simply by turning buyer's fees on. Those are not shared on myresaleweb.com. They are not shared on any printed report or emailed report. They are shown on the price ticket and the price ticket only. So be sure to have some wording in your contract relating to buyer's fees. They're really cool. Store owners love them. What else can I tell you about inventory today? We've talked about markdowns. Let's talk about discounts. Discounts are always interesting. On my make sale screen, if I go 34313 to sell a vendor item, okay, if I take a discount on this screen right here, that discount is shared with the consignor equally. So let's mark it down. Let's say I mark it down by 50 cents. Sell it for 50 cents rather than $1. So I've taken 50 cents off. That markdown I've just taken is shared with the owner, in this case of a greeting card, which doesn't make a ton of sense. Maybe I should use a different item. Try to find one that's available. There we go. Candy bar doesn't make much more sense. But again, the point is any markdowns you take on this screen are shared between you and the consignor equally. Any markdowns you take in this discount field right here are felt entirely by the store. It's a big difference, right? So know where you're taking your discounts, know who you want to feel the pain of the discount, and take the discount in the place accordingly. If it's a discount that should only be felt by the store, take it on this screen. If it's a discount on an item that you'd like shared with the consignor, take it on this screen right here. Okay. It's a difference. It's done on purpose. Some store owners like discounts to be shared with the consignor. Some store owners do not want discounts to be shared with the consignor. They want to feel the entire effect of that discount or entire weight of that discount because the consignor never asked for you to run a discount coupon in a newspaper or to have a sale or anything like that. Store owners have different approaches to it. If you were to do this, let's go back here. Let's add an item that looks a little bit better as a consigned item. We're going to add a few of these. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's say Calvin Klein denim jeans. Let's say $15. And let's say repeat item, 34317. As I click the repeat item button, it's generating new SKUs for these item numbers. And I'm going to add 10 pairs here. Okay. I'm going to go back to the main menu. I've just generated 10 new SKUs for 10 new items, $15 each. And 34317 is probably the first. Okay. And 34318. I'm just trying to demonstrate a feature here. 320. I've got a whole bunch of inventory on the screen. I want to mark down all by 10%. I can put a 10 in this box here. I can say fill down. And now I've applied that discount to every item on the sale. And that discount of $1.60 is being felt 80 cents for the store, 80 cents for the consignor. Okay, so there is a way to mass mark down things on the Make Sale screen using that fill down link at the top and putting the first discount amount in. That way you're sharing the discount with the consignor. If you take a discount here, you're welcome to do so. That's going to be felt entirely by the store. Okay, so that's good. That's markdowns and discounts. We've talked about both. Time period markdown, tag color markdowns, discounts, buyer's fees. Trying to think if we have anything left when it comes to inventory. Tag color markdowns. You all know how to print tags. Printing tags is done on reports, bottom of the screen, item tags or labels. I think that pretty much wraps up our discussion on adding inventory correctly. The main points from today are on the Add Inventory screen. You've got the different types of inventory. You've got different ways to price that inventory based on whether it's consigned, whether it's store-owned, whether it's vendor, whether it's buy outright. You've got this little checkbox over here that can give you a wholesale dollar sign if you want to specify a unique cost. You've also got a split percentage. I think my system is a little bit messed up right now because I was in buy outright mode for a buy outright only mode, and I want to get out of buy outright only mode. Just going to restart it. If you don't do buy outright, you don't have to worry about that. We've got a split percentage for consigned items. We've got a split percentage that goes to 0 for store-owned inventory. Vendor item, you can pick and choose. You can either say the cost is a percentage of my selling price, or you can say the cost is a flat dollar amount by using that wholesale box. Okay. That pretty much concludes our discussion on adding inventory correctly to the system, buyer's fees, markdowns, and discounts. If you're not sharing inventory with your consignors via myresaleweb.com, you should be. It will cut down dramatically on calls to your store because on MyResaleWeb, let's take our peek in here. Let's go to MyResaleWeb. Give me just 1 second. And I don't know if I'm going to have an account we're going to be able to look at. This is MyResaleWeb. You can select the state you're in. You can select your consignor, I should say. Your consignor, this is important. You can select the state they're consigning in. They can select the name of your store. They can put in an ID number and a last name. And they can have come up here a list of, let's see if my test store works. I'm not sure if it will or not, to be honest. It may not. We just did some system maintenance yesterday. Nope, store data file not found. This allows your consignors to look at their accounts 24/7, 365 via any device connected to the internet, and it will cut down dramatically on calls to your store because they're going to see all their items, all their account activity in one place. They can't change anything. They can simply see when things have sold, what their account balance is, what their pickup dates are. If you want more interest, if you're interested in learning more about this, you can email Brian at consignpro.com. That's me. I'll send you a demo that's working rather than the one right here that's not. Okay. So thank you very much for attending tonight. I hope that you learned a little bit more about how to add inventory correctly to ConsignPro, how to look at the different reports in the system. The income statement's good. The inventory lookup report's good. Searching inventory, one last piece I want to talk about. You're looking for a piece of inventory in the system. I forgot to talk about this. We can go into Find Inventory. This is relatively new. I can say I'm looking for a ring. I can hit Search. Over 100 items match your criteria. Here are all the rings in my system. Note some are earrings. Many are earrings, actually. They have the word earrings in them. If I was just looking for earrings, I could specify search. And we've got over 100 earrings as well. Okay. We can click on any item number in the list and it will bring it right up. So that's kind of a neat feature. We can just click on brand. We can put in anything into any of these boxes, brand, description, color, size, or status, we can hit the search button after we do, and up comes a list. Okay. We used to have to go back to the menu. We used to have to go to reports, inventory lookup report. We used to have to type in shirt and jump through a whole bunch of hoops. Now we can just go to find inventory, type in any one of these fields, look up the item, and it will pop up a list of matching inventory. And so that's kind of a feature we added within the last year that makes finding inventory a lot easier. By the way, in this demonstration, I've demonstrated version 9.88. It's at the top left corner of my screen. It tells me I can also help about Consign Pro. Version 9.88 you see right here. If you're not on our latest version, you can download that version from our update page so that your copy of Consign Pro looks the same as what you just saw in this demo. And that's at consignpro.com. Click on support and then version updates. If you have any questions, my name is Brian at consignpro.com. You can also contact me by phone all the time, 888-721-9767. I'm at extension number 4. I hope that this has been helpful for you, and I'd like you to have a nice day.